Commander Park Taemin stepped off the human transport shuttle onto the massive docking bay of the Galactic Council Station. His boots made soft clicking sounds on the smooth metal floor as he walked past alien ships that were 10 times larger than anything humans had ever built. The air smelled strange, like burnt copper, and something sweet that made his nose tingle. Behind him walked his small team of human diplomats. Dr. Song Hae-won carried a briefcase full of human scientific discoveries and technological blueprints. Captain Cho Min-kei held records of human exploration missions, and peaceful first contacts engineer Kang Yu-jin brought samples of human art, music, and literature. They were the best humanity had to offer, and they knew this might be their only chance. The station itself was incredible, beyond anything humans had imagined when they first detected alien signals 50 years ago. Walls stretched up so high that Park could barely see the ceiling. Holographic displays showed star maps and alien languages that hurt his eyes to look at directly. Strange beings floated through the air on anti-gravity platforms, while others walked on dozens of legs or slithered across the floor. Park had studied the major alien species for months, preparing for this moment. The Vortani were tall, crystalline beings who communicated through light patterns and lived for thousands of years. They controlled the richest mining systems in the galaxy. The Kelethi looked like giant insects with metal exoskeletons and had the most powerful military fleet anyone had ever seen. The Nexari were energy beings who existed as pure thought and managed the galaxy's communication networks. As Park and his team walked deeper into the station, they passed alien crowds who stopped to stare at them. Some pointed with appendages that looked nothing like human fingers. Others made sounds that could have been laughter or disgust. Park kept his face calm and professional, even though his heart was beating faster than normal. The council chamber doors were enormous, made from some kind of black stone that seemed to absorb light. They slid open silently as Park approached, revealing a vast circular room with thousands of seats arranged in rising tiers. Almost every seat was filled with alien beings of shapes and sizes that defied human imagination. The center of the room stood a small platform with a simple podium. This was where Park would make humanity's case for joining the galactic community. He walked toward it slowly, aware that millions of alien eyes were watching his every movement. The silence in the room was complete except for his footsteps. Park reached the podium and looked up at the assembled aliens. His voice needed to carry to every corner of this massive space without any amplification technology. He had practiced this speech hundreds of times, but now, facing the reality of the moment, his mouth felt dry. Honored members of the Galactic Council, he began. I am Commander Park Tae-min, representing the human species of Earth. We come before you today with hope in our hearts and respect for your ancient civilizations. We seek membership in your alliance, not as conquerors or competitors, but as partners who wish to contribute to the greater good of all galactic life. A low rumbling sound filled the chamber. It took Park a moment to realize it was alien laughter. The Vortani delegate in the front row was pulsing with bright red light, which Park knew meant amusement or mockery. Other aliens were making their own versions of laughter sounds. Some clicked their mandibles, while others released clouds of colored gas. The Vortani delegate stood up. Its crystalline body caught the chamber lights and threw rainbow patterns on the walls. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind chimes being shaken. Human representative, your species seeks to join our alliance. What exactly do you offer that we do not already possess in abundance? Park had expected this question. He gestured to Dr. Song, who stepped forward with the briefcase. We offer our scientific knowledge, Park said. Our medical research has led to treatments for diseases that affect carbon-based life forms. Our engineering has developed new ways to build structures that can withstand extreme conditions. Our exploration techniques have mapped regions of space that others considered too dangerous to enter. The Kelethi military commander clicked its mandibles in what Park recognized as dismissive laughter. Your technology is primitive compared to ours. Your fastest ships would take centuries to cross distances we cover in days. Your weapons could not scratch the armor of our smallest patrol vessels. Your medical knowledge is thousands of years behind our own understanding of biological systems. Park felt his team shift uncomfortably behind him, but he kept his expression neutral. We do not claim to be the most advanced species, he said, but we bring something Different, our ability to adapt to new situations, our willingness to help others even when there is no benefit to ourselves, our skill at finding peaceful solutions to conflicts. The Nexari energy being spoke next, its voice came from everywhere. At once, like an echo inside Park's head, adaptation is merely the sign of an unstable species that cannot master its environment. Peace-seeking behavior indicates weakness and inability to compete for resources, what you call virtues we recognize. As evolutionary failures, more alien laughter filled the chamber. Park could feel his carefully planned speech falling apart. The aliens were not just dismissing human technology. They were attacking the very nature of humanity itself. Everything that humans considered their greatest strengths was being labeled as weakness. Our song stepped closer to the podium. Perhaps if we could demonstrate some of our innovations, she suggested quietly, our quantum healing techniques or our gravity manipulation experiments. The Vortani delegate pulsed with brighter light. We have mastered quantum mechanics for millennia. Your healing techniques are based on principles we discovered before your species learned to make fire. Your gravity experiments are toys compared to our stellar engineering projects. Park looked around the chamber, hoping to see at least one friendly face among the thousands of aliens present. Instead, he saw boredom, contempt, and barely concealed disgust. Some aliens had already started leaving their seats, clearly considering the human presentation a waste of their time. Captain Cho stepped forward. Our military record shows that humans are capable fighters when necessary. We have ended several conflicts in our own solar system through strategic thinking and determination. The Calathi commander made a sound like grinding metal. Your entire species has never faced a real threat. You fight among yourselves with primitive weapons over scraps of one small planet. We conquer entire star systems before your species could organize a single battle formation. Engineer Kong tried one last approach. Our cultural achievements, our art and music and literature, represent thousands of years of creative development. These could enrich your civilizations in ways that pure technology cannot. The chamber fell silent for a moment, then alien laughter erupted even louder than before. The Nexari being spoke again. Culture is a luxury for species that have solved all practical problems. We have no need for primitive emotional expressions when we have achieved perfect logical efficiency. Park realized that nothing he could say would change their minds. The aliens had made their decision before he ever stepped onto the platform. They saw humans as inferior in every way that mattered to them: technology, military power, longevity, scientific advancement, cultural sophistication. By every measure, the galactic community valued humans ranked at the bottom. He looked at his team, saw the disappointment in their faces, knew they had all hoped for a different outcome, but Park also felt something else rising in his chest. Not anger exactly, but a quiet determination. He had come here as a representative of humanity, and he would leave with dignity intact. I understand your position, Park said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. You have evaluated humanity and found us lacking by your standards. We do not meet your requirements for technological advancement, military strength, or cultural sophistication. The alien laughter died down as they realized Park was not going to argue or plead. Therefore, Park continued, humanity formally withdraws its application for membership in the Galactic Council. We will return to our corner of the galaxy and develop according to our own values and priorities. We will not trouble your advanced civilizations with our primitive ways again. Park turned and walked away from the podium. His team followed. Without a word, the aliens watched them go with expressions that might have been relief or satisfaction. None of them realized they were watching the beginning of the end of their galactic civilization. As Park and his team reached the chamber doors, the Vortani delegate called out, "Your species shows wisdom in recognizing its limitations. Perhaps in a few thousand years, when you have evolved beyond your current primitive state, you may reapply for consideration." Park paused at the doorway, but did not turn around. "Perhaps," he said quietly, "but I do not think you will be here to receive our application." Then he walked out, leaving the aliens to their laughter and their certainty that they had just dismissed the most unremarkable species in the galaxy. None of them suspected that they had just signed their own death warrant by rejecting the one species that could have saved them all. Captain Lee Sora stood on the bridge of the transport ship Harmony, watching the last human outpost in the Kepler sector fade into darkness behind her. The station had been humanity's furthest reach into galactic space, a small research facility, where human scientists studied alien technologies and maintained communication relays for the broader galaxy. Now it was empty like all the other human installations beyond the Sol system. Captain, all personnel have been evacuated from the outer colonies, reported Lieutenant Nam Ji-ho from his console. We are carrying the last 2,000 humans from the frontier settlements. Everyone else has already returned to Earth or the inner colonies. Sora nodded but kept her eyes on the viewscreen. The evacuation had taken 8 months to complete. Humanity had built 47 installations beyond their home system in the past 50 years, research stations, mining operations, communication relays, diplomatic outposts, and even a few small colonies on habitable worlds. All of them were now abandoned. What about the automated systems? Sora asked. The ones we left running for the aliens. All shut down as ordered, replied Chief Engineer Park Soo-jin. The medical fabricators we installed on Vortani Station have been deactivated. The gravity generators we built for the Kalathi mining operation have been powered down. The communication boosters we maintained for the Nexari network have gone silent. Sora felt a strange mixture of sadness and satisfaction. The aliens had made it clear that human contributions were worthless. So humanity was taking their worthless contributions and going home. Let the advanced galactic civilizations handle everything themselves. Behind her, the communications officer Sergeant Kim Tae-young was monitoring alien transmissions. Captain, I am picking up increased chatter on the galactic networks. The aliens seem to be noticing our absence. What kind of chatter? Sora asked. Mostly complaints about equipment failures and service interruptions. The Vortani are reporting problems with their medical facilities. The Kalathi mining operation in the Rigel system has gone offline, and the Nexari are having trouble maintaining their long-range communication links. Sora smiled grimly. Not our problem anymore. Sergeant, plot a course for Earth. We are going home. The journey back to Sol system took 3 weeks. During that time, the reports from alien space grew more frequent and more desperate. The galactic communication networks that had operated smoothly for centuries were beginning to develop gaps and dead zones. Trade routes that had functioned perfectly were experiencing delays and disruptions. Minor conflicts between alien species that had been quickly resolved were now dragging on for weeks. Lieutenant Nam approached Sora during the second week of their journey. Captain, I have been analyzing the alien distress calls. We are receiving over 200 emergency transmissions per day from various species. Most of them are requesting technical assistance or asking for replacement parts for equipment that humans apparently maintained. Apparently maintained, Sora repeated. They never knew we were doing it, did they? Does not appear so, Captain. Many of the requests are addressed to automated systems that the aliens assumed were their own technology. They had no idea that human engineers were secretly keeping their infrastructure running. Sora walked to the main view screen and stared out at the stars ahead. The galaxy looked the same as always, but she knew it was changing in ways the aliens could not yet understand. For decades, humans had been quietly fixing problems, preventing conflicts, and maintaining systems that kept galactic civilization running smoothly. They had done it without recognition or thanks because they believed they were building something better for everyone. Now the aliens would learn what the galaxy looked like without human intervention. Captain, called Communications Officer Kim, I am receiving a priority transmission from Earth Fleet Command. They want a full report on the evacuation status and any observations about alien activities. Tell them the evacuation is complete. Sora replied. All human personnel and equipment have been withdrawn from galactic space. As for alien activities, tell them the galaxy is about to get very interesting. As the Harmony approached Earth's solar system, Sora could see the massive defense platforms that humanity had been building in secret for the past 10 years. The aliens had dismissed human military technology as primitive, but they had never seen what humans could accomplish when they focused all their efforts on one goal. Admiral Kim Jun-ho's voice came through the communication system. Welcome home, Captain Lee. Your ship is the last one we were waiting for. The isolation protocol is now complete. Sora felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Acknowledged. Admiral, it is good to be home. Captain, there is one more thing, Admiral Kim continued. We have been monitoring alien transmissions for the past month. The galactic civilizations are beginning to experience what our analysts are calling cascade failures, multiple systems failing simultaneously in ways that suggest they were all connected by hidden dependencies. Hidden dependencies that humans were managing, Sora said exactly. The aliens built their civilizations on top of human problem-solving. Without realizing it, now that we have withdrawn, their carefully structured society is starting to collapse. Sora looked out at Earth growing larger in the view screen. Humanity's homeworld had never looked more beautiful, the blue and white marble hanging in space represented something the aliens had failed to understand. Not primitive technology or weak culture, but the birthplace of the species that had been holding their galaxy together. Dr. Choi Min-seo worked late in her laboratory deep beneath the lunar research complex, while above her head the galaxy burned in crisis. The quantum medical scanner in front of her displayed the cure for the Vortani plague, a disease that was now spreading to other species and threatening billions of lives. She had developed the cure 3 months ago, but it remained locked in Earth's databases, unavailable to the aliens who desperately needed it. Doctor, called research assistant Lee Dong-wook from his workstation, I have finished analyzing the latest alien transmissions. The Kelethi Empire has lost 60% of their military fleet to equipment failures. The Nixari communication network has collapsed in 12 sectors. And the Vortani plague has now jumped to 4 other species. Min-seo nodded without looking up from her work. She was developing treatments for all the crises. Simultaneously, advanced antibiotics that could stop the plague, replacement components for Kelethi military technology, communication protocols that could restore the Nexari networks. The solutions were within reach, but they would remain on Earth until the aliens learned to respect. Doctor, the death toll estimates are becoming quite serious, Dong-wook said. Quietly, our intelligence suggests that over 50 million aliens have died in the past month from preventable causes. Min-seo finally looked up from her scanner. Preventable if they had accepted our help 2 years ago, preventable if they had treated us as equals instead of dismissing us as primitive, preventable if they had recognized that human contributions were keeping their civilizations stable. She walked to the main display, which showed the current state of galactic space. The chaos had spread far beyond what anyone had predicted. Entire star systems were going dark as their infrastructure failed. Wars that had been prevented by human diplomacy for decades were now raging. Unchecked diseases that human medicine had quietly controlled were spreading like wildfire. Dr. Choi called communications. Officer Sergeant Lim Hae-ri, we are receiving over 3,000 emergency transmissions per hour from alien governments. Most are offering significant concessions in exchange for immediate human assistance. What kind of concessions? Min-seo asked. Full diplomatic recognition, advanced technology sharing, territorial concessions, economic partnerships. Some are even offering to make humans the dominant species in joint colonies. Min-seo felt a bitter smile cross her face. 2 years ago, these same aliens had laughed at human offers of partnership. Now they were offering to become junior partners themselves in exchange for the help they had rejected. Doctor, there is something else, Sergeant Lim continued. We are detecting large-scale population movements across alien space. Entire species are abandoning their homeworlds and fleeing to regions where the crisis has not yet spread. Min-seo returned to her quantum scanner. The machine hummed softly as it calculated the molecular structure of advanced medicines that could save millions of lives. Her colleagues across the research complex were working on similar projects, engineering solutions that could repair alien infrastructure, diplomatic frameworks that could end the spreading wars, scientific innovations that could solve problems the aliens could not handle alone. All of it ready to deploy at a moment's notice, all of it withheld until the galaxy learned its lesson. Dr. Dong-wook said, I have been thinking about the moral implications of our response. We have the power to save lives, but we are choosing not to act. Is this the right choice? Min-seo considered the question carefully. She thought about the human diplomats who had worked for decades to prevent alien conflicts only to be dismissed as irrelevant. She thought about human engineers who had maintained alien infrastructure without recognition. She thought about human scientists who had solved alien problems while being told their knowledge was worthless. The aliens made a choice when they rejected us, Minesio said. They decided that human contributions had no value. They chose to build their civilizations on the assumption that they were superior to us in every way. Now they are learning the consequences of their choice. But innocent people are dying. Dongwook protested. Innocent people die every day throughout the galaxy, Minesio replied. The difference is that now the aliens cannot solve their problems without admitting they need human help. For the first time in galactic history, they are being forced to confront their own limitations. She turned back to her work, but her thoughts remained troubled. The solutions in her laboratory could end the suffering of billions, but releasing them now would only teach the aliens that humans could be dismissed and then called upon when convenient. The galaxy needed to learn that human contributions came with human dignity attached. Dr. Sergeant Lim called. We have a priority transmission from the Galactic Council itself. They are requesting an emergency session with human representatives. Minesio looked up sharply. The same council that rejected our membership application. Yes, doctor. The message indicates they wish to discuss immediate humanitarian aid and possible reconsideration of human membership status. Minesio felt her heart rate increase. This was the moment humanity had been waiting for. The aliens were finally ready to admit they needed human help. But the terms of any agreement would have to be very different from what had been offered 2 years ago. Forward the message to Earth government, Minesio said, but continue all current research projects. We need to be ready with solutions when the negotiations begin. As she returned to her quantum scanner, Minesio realized that humanity was about to face its most important choice. Would they help the aliens who had rejected them, or would they let galactic civilization collapse as a lesson to future generations? The answer would determine not just the fate of the galaxy, but the kind of species humanity would become. Admiral Kim Junho walked through the command center of Luna Defense Station, watching the holographic displays that showed the current state of galactic civilization. The screens painted a picture of increasing chaos across known space, and the situation was getting worse every day. Admiral called Intelligence Officer Major Yoon Nari. We are receiving another batch of emergency transmissions from the Vortani Empire. They are reporting a medical crisis that has spread to over 40 of their worlds. Junho stopped at her workstation. What kind of medical crisis? A bacterial infection that their doctors cannot identify or treat, Nari replied, reading from her display. The symptoms suggest it is the Crimson Plague that affected their outer colonies 15 years ago, but their medical records show that disease was completely eliminated. Junho remembered the Crimson Plague. It had threatened to wipe out entire Vortani populations until human medical researcher Dr. Shin the Jin had developed a treatment. She had worked for 6 months in secret, creating a cure that she then uploaded to Vortani medical databases. The aliens had assumed the cure came from their own scientists and never realized a human had saved their species. Their immune systems have no resistance to the plague because they have been dependent on human-developed treatments for decades, Junho said. Without our medical research, they are defenseless against diseases. They thought they had conquered communications. Officer Colonel Park Min-soo approached with another report. Admiral, the Calathi Empire is experiencing massive equipment failures across their military fleet. Their war machines are shutting down and they cannot determine the cause. Let me guess. Junho said the failures are occurring in systems that use human-manufactured precision components. Correct, Admiral. The Calathi military has been unknowingly dependent on human engineering for critical parts of their weapons and ships. Without our manufacturing support, their entire fleet is becoming inoperable. Junho walked to the main display, which showed a real-time map of galactic space. Red indicators marked locations of conflicts, diseases, equipment failures, and other crises. The red dots had been appearing steadily for the past 2 months and now covered nearly half of known space. Admiral, called Science Officer Dr. Chang Soo-min, I have completed my analysis of the galactic crisis patterns. The data confirms our worst predictions. The alien civilizations have been completely dependent on human contributions for far longer than we realized. Junho turned to face her. Explain. Human diplomats have been secretly mediating conflicts between alien species for decades. Dr. Chang continued. Human engineers have been maintaining critical infrastructure across the galaxy. Human scientists have been solving problems that alien researchers could not handle. Human traders have been managing supply chains that keep alien economies functioning, and now all of that support has disappeared. Junho said, exactly, the aliens built their civilizations on the assumption that certain services and solutions would always be available. They never realized those services were provided by humans. Now they are facing problems they have no experience solving. Junho studied the display showing the spreading chaos. It was worse than he had expected. The alien civilizations were not just losing human support, they were discovering that their entire way of life had been dependent on human problem-solving abilities. Major Yun approached with an urgent expression. Admiral, we are receiving priority transmissions from multiple alien governments. They are requesting immediate assistance with what they call unprecedented emergencies. What kind of assistance? Junho asked. Medical aid for diseases they cannot cure. Engineering support for equipment they cannot repair. Diplomatic intervention for conflicts they cannot resolve. Trade negotiations for economic problems they cannot solve. Junho felt a grim satisfaction. The same aliens who had dismissed humanity as primitive and worthless were now begging for the help they had rejected. The galaxy was learning the true value of human contributions, but the lesson was coming too late. Admiral, Dr. Chang said quietly, there is something else. The rate of crisis escalation suggests that without human intervention, the galactic civilizations will face complete social collapse within 6 months. Junho looked at the spreading red indicators on the display. Each one represented millions of alien lives at risk. The same species that had mocked humanity for being weak and short-lived were now facing extinction because they had rejected the help they needed most. Sir, Major Yun said, what should we do about the alien requests for assistance? Junho was quiet for a long moment. He thought about Commander Park Taemin standing before the Galactic Council 2 years ago trying to offer humanity's friendship and being laughed at for his efforts. He thought about all the human scientists, engineers, and diplomats who had worked tirelessly to help alien civilizations that never acknowledged their contributions. We maintain radio silence, Junho finally said. The aliens made their choice when they rejected our membership application. Now they can live with the consequences, but Admiral, Major Yun protested. Millions of innocent lives are at stake, millions of lives that belong to species who consider us primitive and worthless, Junho replied. They wanted to handle galactic affairs without human interference. Now they are getting exactly what they asked for. Junho walked back to the main display and watched the red indicators continue to spread. The galaxy was burning, and only humanity had the knowledge and skills to put out the fires. But the same species that had created this crisis would have to prove they deserved human help before any assistance would be provided. Continue monitoring the situation, Junho ordered, but no responses to alien requests for aid. Until the galactic civilizations learn to respect humanity, we have nothing to say to them. General Han Woo-jin stood in the Situation Room of Earth Defense Command watching the holographic display that showed alien fleets gathering at the edge of Sol System. The ships were not arranged in attack formations, but in what appeared to be diplomatic formations. Each fleet flew flags of truce and broadcast messages, requesting permission to approach Earth. General, reported Colonel Kim Seung-ho, we have confirmed the identity of the approaching fleets. The Vortani Empire has sent their most advanced diplomatic vessel. The Caliphate military has dispatched a peacekeeping squadron. The Nexari have manifested a council ship that exists purely for negotiation purposes. Wu Jin studied the display with growing amazement. In his 30 years of military service, he had never seen anything like this. The most powerful civilizations in the galaxy were approaching Earth not as conquerors but as supplicants seeking an audience with the species they had once dismissed. What is the status of our defensive systems? Wu Jin asked. All orbital platforms are fully operational, General. Our new quantum shields are active and our response fleets are ready to deploy. However, the alien vessels are maintaining safe distances and showing no signs of hostile intent. Wu Jin nodded. The past 6 months had been spent preparing for this moment. Humanity had used the time to develop defensive technologies that the aliens had never seen. Quantum shields that could stop any known weapon. Faster-than-light communication systems that surpassed alien technology by decades. Ships that could outmaneuver anything in the Galactic Fleet's general called Intelligence Officer Major Park G1. We are receiving detailed reports about the galactic situation. The crisis has reached critical levels in all major civilizations. Show me the summary, Wu Jin ordered. The holographic display shifted to show a galactic map painted in shades of red and orange, nearly 70% of known. Space was experiencing some form of crisis, from medical emergencies to infrastructure failures to active warfare. The carefully ordered galactic civilization that had existed for millennia was collapsing. Into chaos, the Vortani Empire has lost contact with 30% of their worlds due to plague outbreaks, Major Park reported. The Calathi military cannot maintain order in their territory. Because their equipment continues to fail, the Nexari communication network has fragmented into isolated nodes that cannot coordinate with each other. Wu Jin felt a mixture of satisfaction and concern. The aliens were finally understanding the true value of human contributions, but the scale of the crisis was beyond what anyone had predicted, sir. Colonel Kim said, "We are receiving a priority transmission from the lead Vortani vessel. The delegate is requesting immediate audience with Earth's leadership. He claims to have new information about the nature of the galactic crisis." What kind of information? Wu Jin asked. According to their message, they have discovered evidence that humans have been the primary stabilizing force in galactic civilization for over 2 centuries. They want to share this evidence and discuss terms for human assistance. Wu Jin walked to the main display and studied the alien fleets waiting patiently at the edge of human space. 2 years ago, these same species had laughed at human offers of partnership. Now they were waiting for permission to enter Sol System like children, seeking forgiveness from parents they had wronged. General Major Park continued, "There is something else. Our deep space monitors have detected additional alien fleets approaching from multiple directions. It appears that every major species in the galaxy is sending representatives to Earth." The Situation Room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. The greatest gathering of alien civilizations in galactic history was converging on Earth, not for conquest or negotiation, but for what could only be described as surrender. "Sir," Communications Officer Captain Lee Soo-jin reported, "we are receiving a transmission from President Lim Haijin. She is requesting your immediate presence at an emergency cabinet meeting. The decision about how to respond to the alien approach will be made within the hour." Wu Jin took one last look at the display showing the alien fleets. The ships represented billions of lives across hundreds of worlds, all of them now dependent on human goodwill for their survival. The species that had considered humans weak and primitive had learned that their entire civilization rested on human foundations. "Colonel Kim, you have command of the Situation Room," Wu Jin said. "Continue monitoring the alien fleets, but take no action until you receive direct orders from the President." As Wu Jin left for the emergency meeting, he reflected on the strange turn of events. Humanity had sought membership in the galactic community as equals and been rejected. Now they were being approached as the only species capable of saving that community from collapse. The revelation was complete. The galaxy now understood that human weakness had actually been strength. Human adaptability had solved problems that alien specialization could not handle. Human empathy had prevented conflicts that alien logic could not resolve. Human innovation had maintained systems that alien technology could not improve. But revelation was only the first step. The real test would be how humanity chose to use their newfound position of power. Would they help the aliens who had rejected them, or would they let galactic civilization collapse as punishment for past arrogance? The answer would determine the future of every species in known space. President Lim Haijin stood before the massive viewing window in the presidential palace, looking out at the hundreds of alien ships that now surrounded Earth. The sight was both magnificent and terrifying. The greatest armada in galactic history had come not to conquer but to kneel before humanity. Behind her, the emergency cabinet was in heated discussion about how to respond to the alien pleas for assistance. The debate had been going on for hours with no clear consensus emerging. "Madam President," said Defense Secretary General Kong Yoo-jin, "the aliens have provided complete documentation of their civilization's collapse. The evidence shows that human contributions have been essential to galactic stability for over 200 years. Haijin turned from the window to face her advisors. What kind of contributions? Everything, replied Foreign Minister Ambassador Song Hae-won. Human doctors have been secretly treating alien diseases that their own medicine could not cure. Human engineers have been maintaining infrastructure that alien technology could not improve. Human diplomats have been preventing wars that alien logic could not resolve. The aliens never realized the extent of their dependence on us. Added science advisor Dr. Choi Min SEO. They assumed that solutions to their problems came from their own civilizations. When humans withdrew our support, their entire society began to collapse. Haijin walked to the conference table where holographic displays showed the current state of galactic space. The red indicators representing crisis zones now covered 80% of known space. The death toll had reached hundreds of millions and was climbing rapidly. What are the aliens offering in exchange for our help? Haijin asked. Complete surrender of galactic authority, replied Foreign Minister Song. They want to establish a new galactic council with humans as the dominant species. All major decisions would require human approval. All alien civilizations would accept human oversight of their governments. They are also offering unlimited access to their technology and resources. Added economic advisor Dr. Park Tae-min. Advanced manufacturing capabilities, mining rights to entire star systems, access to scientific databases that span millennia. Haijin felt the weight of the decision pressing down on her. The aliens were offering humanity everything they had once refused to share, but accepting would mean taking responsibility for billions of lives across hundreds of worlds. Madam President, said ethics advisor Dr. Kim Jae-won, we must consider the moral implications of our choice. We have the power to save lives, but we also have the right to demand justice for past wrongs. What does the public opinion data show? Haijin asked. The human population is divided, replied Communications Director Lee So-ra. 60% support providing humanitarian aid regardless of past conflicts. 30% want the aliens to suffer consequences for their arrogance. 10% advocate for complete isolation from galactic affairs. Haijin returned to the viewing window and looked out at the alien fleets. Each ship represented a species that had once considered humans inferior. Now they waited for human mercy like condemned prisoners, awaiting judgment. Madam President, called Intelligence Director Admiral Kim Jun-ho. We have received the final alien proposal. They are requesting an immediate response. The Vortani delegate claims their civilization will collapse completely within 72 hours without human intervention. Haijin closed her eyes and thought about the path that had led to this moment. 2 years ago, Commander Park Tae-min had stood before the Galactic Council offering friendship and partnership. The aliens had laughed at him and dismissed humanity as worthless. Now those same aliens were begging for the help they had rejected. What would Commander Park advise us to do? Haijin asked quietly. Foreign Minister Song considered the question. Commander Park believed that humans had a responsibility to help others regardless of personal cost. He would probably advocate for providing aid even to those who had wronged us, but he would also insist on respect and recognition, added Defense Secretary Kang. He would not allow humanity to be taken advantage of again. Haijin opened her eyes and looked at her advisors. These were the people who would help her shape humanity's response to the greatest crisis in galactic history. Their decision would echo through the centuries and determine what kind of species humanity would become. Prepare a response to the alien fleets, Haijin said. We will provide humanitarian aid to prevent the loss of innocent lives, but we will do so under human terms and with human oversight. What kind of terms, Madam President? Asked Foreign Minister Song. First, the aliens must formally acknowledge that human contributions have been essential to galactic civilization for centuries. Second, they must establish a new galactic council with humans as the senior partners. Third, they must accept human guidance in rebuilding their societies to prevent future crises. And if they refuse these terms, asked Defense Secretary Kang Jin looked out at the alien fleets one more time. Then they will face the consequences of their choices alone. Humanity will not be dismissed and then called upon for convenience. We will help, but only as the respected Leaders, we should have been recognized as from the beginning. She turned to her communications director. Prepare the message for immediate transmission to all alien fleets. Humanity accepts the role of galactic guardians, but we will fulfill that role according to our own values and principles. As the message was prepared and sent, Hyjin realized that humanity had reached a turning point. The species that had been rejected as primitive and worthless was now being asked to save galactic civilization. The galaxy had learned too late that when humanity turned its back, their fate was indeed sealed. Now, humanity would determine whether that fate led to destruction or redemption. The choice was made, and the consequences would reshape the galaxy forever.